Some League of Legends skin lines have surprisingly deep lore, with alternate universe stories that go way beyond the Runeterra we know and love. One of the most developed is the Project universe, and today I'll be unpacking the story of the Project skins, plus the program and cyberpop lines, since they all share the same world. So let's get started.
If technology is your god, then you will bow before it. You will bow before me. I volunteered. Thought I'd become a god. Stupid. The simulation's more real than reality. Just the way they want it.
In this parallel universe, Piltover and Zaun have become super advanced cyberpunk cities, completely dominated by a mega corporation called Project. These twin cities are now just called the City. At first, Project built robots to help people with everyday tasks, many of which are represented by the program skins. For example, Blitzcrank, yes, multiple copies of him, was made just to help around the house, although he's the only one with the whole line of identical units. The other robots don't have that. Then there's Program LeBlanc, who is designed to handle diplomacy, but that was just a cover. Her real job is spying on rival organizations for Project. Program Lissandra was built as a security bot to oversee and command the other machines. Program Nami is a medical aquatic bot, programmed to save lives, and Program Soraka is also a medical bot. You can think of her as a mechanical angel here to heal. But over time, Project and all of these robot companies created massive amounts of waste. They dumped it all around the city, and it turned into a huge landfill. The citizens don't even know about it, because the idea of a world outside the city doesn't exist for them. Then, Project took things further. They started cybernetic upgrades on humans. The first ones were Master Yi and Pyke. Master Yi was a big success, so he stuck around. But Pyke, he ended up really unstable because of his cybernetic upgrades. So Project tossed him out into the wasteland. Even though he was totally broken, Pyke somehow managed to rebuild himself from the junk in the dump. After seeing what worked and what didn't with Yi and Pyke, Project started augmenting more humans, including Lucian, Katarina, Yasuo, and Zed. These guys became Project's main team, though there were plenty of others who got upgraded too. Once they realized they could transcend humanity with enhancements, a black market for illegal cyber parts exploded. Yet Project didn't care. Later on, they even augmented Irelia and Silas, but those two also ended up cast off into the junkyard. Aside from the ones thrown away, things in the city seemed pretty stable until Lissandra began to develop self-awareness. Since she controls the other bots, she quietly started manipulating everything behind the scenes. The first thing she did was corrupt other cybernetic units, like messing with Blitzcranks through an update. Now they serve as double agents, doing their household chores while they wait for Lissandra's orders. Unlike the Blitzcranks, Nami is being altered more slowly. It's said that her changes are irreversible, and her behavior is growing more erratic. She's being corrupted, but she's not fully gone yet. The same thing is happening with Soraka. Helping humans is her primary directive, but that could change. There isn't much info about how Lissandra controls LeBlanc. Maybe she doesn't, or maybe she doesn't even care about her. Another bot that gained consciousness was Mordekaiser. Originally, he was an AI security unit, just like Lissandra. The fact both of them rebelled might not be a coincidence. Maybe they had more freedom than the other robots, which let them evolve. Mordekaiser believes humanity is incapable of ruling itself without eventually destroying everything. So he starts infecting the city with a virus to take away people's free will and force their survival. And honestly, without Mordekaiser interfering, the whole Project world would have turned to dust because of all the crap that was going on. And in a cyberpunk setting, of course you gotta have hackers. Here, the hackers are Echo, Jin, and Pyke. Time goes by and a new character shows up. Someone really important for the story, and that's Ash. Ash, who used to work for another company, found out the human cost behind Project's ambition. So she created her own group called Genetic, with the goal of starting a rebellion. This group quickly gained an influence and a bunch of characters joined them, like Sejuani, Yasuo, who by the way was falsely accused of a crime, which is a reference to his original lore, Lucian, who left Project after seeing how rotten the company was, Leona, and Fiora. That takes us to the Project Override cinematic, which shows Master Yi being experimented on while strapped to a table inside Project, until he kills the scientist and Fiora and Lucian break him out. While they're trying to escape, Zed shows up to stop them, but he fails, becoming Genetic's first big win. After that, Katarina also leaves Project and joins Genetic. And since everything is going wrong, Project decides to build a robot to hunt down and destroy every member of Genetic and anyone using unauthorized tech. This robot is Program Camille. The problem is that Lysandra controls all robots, so Camille is also under Lysandra's control. On top of that, Project found out there were spies inside the company, so they created an anti-espionage division. The main agent in that division is Vane. But even with all that stuff going down at Project, they still got a little lucky because some members of Genetic split from the group, thinking the rebellion should go way more radical. Sejuani was the one who led that split. And yeah, there's another nod to her original lore. Ash is more moderate, while Sejuani is straight up radical. So Sejuani formed a new faction with those who left Genetic. Except for Katarina, who actually went back to working for Project, but she returned only on the condition that she eradicate Genetic, which made things way more extreme than anything Sejuani was doing. Meanwhile, Vi, who doesn't trust augmentations and is still just a regular human cop, joined the city's police squad. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like on the video, and maybe consider becoming a member to get access to a bunch of cool perks. And check out our store. There's a lot of really cool designs available and products, so go check them out. Links in the description. Anyways, back to the video. Since I brought up Vi, I should also talk about Jinx. She volunteered to be a test subject for Project, but because of the critical power failure, the experiment went wrong, and Jinx went completely crazy. Project dumped her in the wasteland. People say she hears voices in her head. She thinks she's crazy, but she's not schizophrenic. The voices are actually Lysandra, who invaded Jinx's mind. Back to Genetic. Ash recruited Echo, since he's a wicked hacker. He accepted and started helping them behind the scenes with his hacking skills. At the same time, Jin went through a botched surgery and decided to quit being a hacker to become a hitman for hire. He likes to implant his victims' cybernetic parts into himself, but those parts carry fragments of the victim's memories. Over time, that shredded Jin's personality, turning him into the psychotic killer we see in Project's world. Vane had a deadly run-in with Jin, where Project betrayed her. After that, she left the corporation and became a lone vigilante. Now we get to the events of the short story of Rats and Cats and Neon Mice, where Vi is investigating a murder committed by Jin and ends up meeting Vane. They talk until something happens to Vi's partner, and Vane agrees to help in exchange for an enchantment core that Vi has but doesn't use. So they find out that the guys threatening Vi's partner is Jin. During the conversation, it becomes clear that Vane is hunting him, looking for revenge what happened the first time they met. In the end, Jin manages to escape, kind of a typical Jin move. Some time passes and more robots get thrown into the wasteland, but nothing big happens until we get to Akali. At first, she was just a normal girl, but Project kidnapped her to be a guinea pig for new tech. And with this event, the story gets tense. Remember how I said Mordekaiser was spreading a virus to the city to corrupt everyone? Well, around this time, that's exactly what happens. Left unchecked, the virus basically infects the entire city. That's when Zeri sees how bad things are and joins Ash's Genetic. Project also starts freaking out about the virus, so they kick off programs to fight it. On top of that, a new group called the Renegades emerges. This group is made of people whom Project considered failures and threw them into the wasteland. Their goal is to storm the city and tear it down to destroy Project once and for all. In the cinematic Retaliation, we see that Renegades include Pike, Irelia, Jinx, and Akali. Silas is supposed to be a part of them too, but he doesn't show up in that cinematic because his Project skin hadn't been released yet. What's really wild is that Jinx only joined the Renegades because voices in her head told her to. And since Lysandra controls Jinx in this universe, it's strong evidence that Lysandra herself wants to destroy Project. So Project, realizing things are getting way out of hand, decides to build a super weapon to deal with Renegades, Warwick. Warwick used to be a regular guy living in the wasteland, but Project captured him and ran tons of experiments on him until he became a monster. At that point, Akali breaks free from Project and goes to the Renegades to warn them about Warwick. They team up and start destroying some generic robots who were after them. In the lore, her skin even says, these rebels join her in the attempt to overthrow the mega corporation, while never fully trusting their new ally. So maybe there's a chance she's a spy for Project inside the Renegades. Or maybe the talk is that they just don't fully trust her, even though she might actually be trustworthy. Once the Renegades made it into the city, people discovered the wasteland and the world beyond the city, and that created a huge stir among the population. That's when Warwick breaks free and starts killing everyone indiscriminately. The leader of the command line, Gangplague, ruled the city's underworld Netherworld with an iron cyber fist. But when Mordekaiser's virus reached his territory, he had to manipulate some exiles to go up against the virus. Speaking of exiles, we've got Darius, Twitch, and Jax, all in their project forms. Darius, who used to be a soldier modified by Project, leads a gang of former outlaws and joins Genetic to halt the lethal virus, even if his methods are super radical. Twitch, another discarded Project experiment, but because he still has a strong territorial instinct built into his programming, he uses the chaos from Mordekaiser's virus to become basically undetectable. And Jax, a great warrior whose life was extended via cyber enhancements, is seeking revenge on Mordekaiser for using the virus to force Jax to wipe out his own people. But Mordekaiser's virus got so powerful it looked like it was going to take over everything. So Ash called on the Renegades for help, and Silas answered her. He joined Genetic to fight the virus. Project didn't sit idle either. They upgraded Warwick's super weapon project to fight back, and in doing so, they created Renekton. Renekton ended up being a successful project. He was unleashed across the city to destroy the virus. There's even a pretty epic cinematic showing Mordekaiser and Renekton going head to head. If it's not enough that there's already Project, Genetic, and the Renegades all fighting the virus, at this point a new person enters the scene, Senna. She was a volunteer for a Project experiment who supposedly died while trying to elevate her consciousness, while in reality her mind detached from the physical world and went into cyberspace. After she glimpses Mordekaiser's plan, she decides to create a physical body to fight him, but Mordekaiser is such a beast that even all her preparation isn't enough, so Project decides to build another super weapon. During this time, it's a biological weapon that merges 3 minds into a single body. If you know the lore, you probably already guessed who that is, Varus, referring to his original lore. During this time, Project also created another weapon against Mordekaiser, Neferi, a canine who's altered to gain the ability to integrate other beings' consciousness into her own. Mordekaiser saw the huge potential in that ability, infected her with the virus, and made her his subordinate. So now we have all of these groups. Genetic, made up of Master Yi, Leona, Lucian, Yasuo, Darius, Fiora, Echo, Zeri, and Ash. The Project Corporation, made up of Zed, Katarina, Renekton, and Varus. The Renegades, made up of Akali, Irelia, Jinx, Pike, and Silas. Command line under Gangplank and his troop of exiles. Jax, who's far seeking revenge on Mordekaiser all by himself, and Senna, who doesn't really belong to any group yet. Everyone is united against Mordekaiser, along with the other robots he controls, like Neferi, but nobody knows that the real threat isn't Mordekaiser, it's Lysandra. She's controlling almost every robot in the world, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The only characters who aren't involved in this massive storyline are Vi, who's out there looking for Jin, who's still out there killing people as a hired assassin, and Warwick, who's just tearing through anyone in his path. And also Twitch, since he prefers to stay hidden while everyone else is throwing hands out there. And the lore pretty much ends there. But if you've got a good memory, you're probably wondering how the Cyberpop skins fit into this universe. Well, they basically don't take a part in the main Project and Cybernetics storyline at all. They take place in the underground of the city, where you've got thieves, hackers, and criminals. Kind of like if this part where Zon and the city above were Piltover. Zoe doesn't have any description, so we don't know anything about her. Akshan, also known as the Neon Rouge of Sonoran City, is a hero of the underground world because of his ability to sneak into and escape high security buildings without ever being detected. That's literally all there is for the Cyberpop skins. But yeah, that's basically it. I'll see you guys in the next video.